And we are live. Uh, so, so yeah, I'm here with my friend. I don't know if I'm allowed. I guess I could say your name. You
No,
put it
it's
up
like,
there. Yeah, yeah, all right. So I'm here with my friend Lindsay. She is she's a nurse and she's a or was. Are you still a COVID nurse? Are you still working in that whole thing?
um, currently I'm on assignment where I don't directly deal with COVID patients, but this day and age, if you're a nurse, you are a COVID nurse
Right, right.
in a
But
way.
you
Uh,
worked with COVID patients though for a long time, right?
Absolutely. This past summer at Maine General in Augusta, I was on the med surg floor, which was also a COVID rule out unit. So
Wow.
I did work directly with COVID positive patients or COVID rule outs where they would lessen our ratio so that the COVID nurse, that was deemed for the shift, we would have a three patient assignment. Um, Mostly because it takes so much time to don and doff the PPE.
All right,
And
all right, so let me back up a little bit. So Lindsay, like, I just want to say who we are, man, because like I don't want to jump into this like we're all pros and we're trying to do something crazy. But yeah, so Lindsay and I go way back. We've known each other for quite a few years, and
and I want to pause you, Bill, because I remember when you told me I was bad for your publicity. Here
and
I
you probably still are. You probably
absolutely.
still are. Yeah. Yeah, but you've been an amazing nurse for a really long time, and I was watching you go through this. I was watching you go through being a COVID nurse, and you came to the house and hung out a few times, and you were even paranoid about coming around to us, and I saw like. I saw you go through a lot of emotions, and I think that was interesting.
Well, I think what happened, um, crap, this whole time it's weird for everybody. Um, and we'll definitely delve deeper into that. But I remember when we hung out last summer, and you're like, "Oh, let's hang out," and I'm like, "Well, who have you been hanging out with? Like,
Right.
who else's air have you been breathing?" It's almost kind of like, we joked about this, and I say it in jest, but it's funny, but kind of true. It's like airborne HIV, like that paranoia now is out there. And when I got tested tonight because I have a sore throat, and I admitted that today. And then all of a sudden I was like pushed out of the hospital like a leper. They're like, "How'd you make it in here?" I'm like, "Well, because I needed my flu shot, and they were going to pull me off the schedule if I didn't get it today."
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
they didn't
how did?
ask you if you had symptoms? I'm like, "Well, no." I walked into my hospital wearing my nurse badge, and they're like, "Oh, coming back?" I'm like, "Well, technically, yes, because I was here 5 days ago working, so I am, yeah."
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. How did that feel like going?
I would
How?
normally work with a sore throat, but I do remember when we started hanging out, you had to like really do some arm twisting. You're like, "I have no life."
I didn't. I
Um,
literally didn't leave the house.
and I realized that you didn't because I saw the shake of your house when you lived with Tim. And
Yeah,
it,
right.
it's a dude's house. Um,
Right, right.
but
But
yeah,
yeah,
I
it
was
was
paranoid
crazy.
about it. And then, too, now I have a sore throat. I woke up with it. I probably slept really hard last night and sawed some logs snoring. But, as a nurse, now we have these questions we have to answer every day. And then, they take our temperature, but everything could be COVID. Headache, body aches. I have a couple knots in my neck and chronic, like, intense. That could count as body aches. Say I had a loose stool or ate something funny, COVID. And I don't get paid to quarantine. Um, I worry about losing my job. And I sent emails to my management this afternoon saying, I have a sore throat. I got my flu shot. You can keep me on the schedule. But then I also asked about COVID testing, and they asked me why. And I said, well, I have a sore throat. And I still do. And nothing else. I can still smell and everything else. But I found in my email correspondence, I was profusely apologizing because I will have to miss possibly my next shift. I can't work until my test results come back. What do I do? I mean, we're healthcare heroes, but I'm afraid of losing my job sometimes. Like, if I had to honestly divulge every detail of how I'm not feeling great on my
Right.
day to day, I
You'd
mean,
probably never work, right? You'd probably never be able to work because we all have regular aches and pains, you know. So like, when is it COVID? You know what I mean? So like that's the thing. Like COVID has an ability to be almost like non-existent, right? Like non-symptomatic, right?
yeah, you asked me what I thought about asymptomatic carriers and what does that mean, right? My answer is I would need to Google it because I have no idea. Being an asymptomatic carrier of the Rona is actually one of my biggest fears because I don't want to be unknowingly responsible for spreading it to people. Like, to be an asymptomatic coronavirus carrier sounds horrifying. I don't really know what that means. I don't know how that really exists. Um, that's my biggest fear. So, in all the uptick here in New England cases, I, had a sore throat and I admitted to it. Normally, in normal um,
Pre-COVID,
BC days, no,
yeah.
BC before COVID,
Oh yeah.
back in the days of yore in BC, I would go to work with a sore throat. Pretty much, if you're a nurse, you go to work unless you're like physically dying or somebody close to you has actually died.
Right.
But now, having to admit to something dumb like a sore throat, I feel really stupid. But at the same time, yay for me for being responsible, but I still feel like a dumbass. And
Yeah.
a lot of guilt that goes with that. However, when I
Right.
got swabbed earlier this evening, I do think they kind of poked out a piece of my brain, so that's cool.
Yeah, that was probably fun. Yeah, do they still do that? Because I actually went and got tested. So I went to DC. It basically went down there and came back.
But you're
And
admitting this to public now, correct? Because
well, man, I got my corona test. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I mean, I'm going through the protocol just like I'm supposed to. And you know, it's exactly what you're doing. You know, it's like if there's any thought, you go through the protocol. You go and get tested, right? So, yeah. I mean, I didn't. It's scary to get tested because, like you said, you turn into a leper. You know, you're
well, and the thing is, and like, I joke about it being like airborne HIV, but it's one of those things like when you get tested for HIV, which by the way is still a real thing. Just because that's not on the news anymore doesn't mean that it no longer exists. It's just
right,
the news shifts attention from one thing to the next shiny thing. The news is like fish to shiny.
right.
Um, HIV is not old news, it's still happening. We just don't talk about it anymore. So I want to make that clear to everybody. Like,
Right.
um, but getting, if you've ever gotten tested for HIV and if anyone hasn't, they should. Um, it makes you think because there's a lag period between the testing and then the results, and you think about who and in what context have I been in close contact with? If this is positive, who do I have to disclose this to? And I feel like the anxiety that exists around COVID testing it
It's
makes you think
similar.
about, do you rewind your last 2 weeks of your life and think, where have I been? Who do I need to tell? What are their, how are they health wise? Did I put anyone inadvertently at risk? It's heavy,
Yeah.
if that makes
Right.
sense. That's
Oh
how
yeah.
I feel about it. Um, that's why I jokingly call it airborne HIV, but also it was funnier when we were talking about it than not.
Right, but it is funny, it is pretty funny because like they have a lot of parallels, and man, like you basically always have to protect yourself. You got to wrap yourself one way or the other, right? And so it's about protecting yourself, no matter how you look at it.
And
But
it's also about protecting others. I think,
right.
I don't like wearing masks all the time. I'm waiting for in the future, the daytime TV shows, like the commercials between the soaps. It's like, oh, have you worked with asbestos? Do you have mesothelioma? We're working with asbestos. Here's a class action lawsuit. Joe Fortune. I'm like,
Yep.
no, I predict in like 10 to 15 years, there's going to be, were you a healthcare worker in the time of COVID? Were you made to wear the surgical masks?
Right.
Wear them for 14 hours a day, even though the box instruction says each mask is only good for 4. Are
Right.
you, and do your lungs have holes in them now? Because these things melt to your face. Towards the end of the day, after wearing one of these,
uh
I have to, like, I get stuff in my, like, in my teeth.
oh, weird.
Yeah, and also, but in the morning makes me mindful. Brush your teeth before you go to work because you're gonna be dealing with your own breath.
All day long. Right.
But
Don't go out drinking the night before.
these standard masks are only good. You read the box; they're only good for 4 hours. Um, it's one thing to work in a COVID unit. So far up here, any COVID I've worked with, I felt safe because it's still been well controlled. It wasn't like the overrun, chaotic situation. And I think up here too, it's still controlled. What I find where I'm working right now versus where I was working in Maine last summer was very prepared. Where I'm working now, there's been some things that this hospital could have had go smoother. I think
Do
people
you think it
just
was do you think it's because there's a lack of supplies now?
not a lack of supplies, but a lack of preparedness from the staff. I think where I am at now, it's still somewhat new to them.
Yeah, because
Working
where
with a
the
COVID
area
unit,
you're at, there really wasn't any COVID patients, and yeah, I can understand that. I can't hear you. Okay, you there?
yes.
Okay, I can hear you now. Like, I don't know what happened, but we lost you for a moment. But I saw you talking, and I don't think anyone really noticed. It was fine.
Well, Bill,
Just
come
because
on,
I
that's the
can't hear
story
you.
of my life. I'm talking, no one
All right,
else.
Stan the man said he couldn't hear you. Oh yeah, Stan the man says he can hear you now. So thank you, Stan. Appreciate that, brother. Lindsay
I
can't be heard. I can see the comments on here. I don't know if you can on there. Like you might be able to slide your.
yeah, it's probably better I don't. Just I don't want to
Right.
lose.
You don't want to
Let's
know.
get into this.
Right. So yeah, like what I don't really want to badmouth the hospital. Like I feel bad about that because they probably are doing the best they can. Like they don't really exactly know what's about to happen. You know,
So the thing is with the Rona, I
the
like to call it
Rona.
is that there's a lot of this is all new to everybody. We haven't been through this since 1918, and if you look back at 1918, I mean, we had far less resources back then. But no, I think everywhere there's been emergency contingency plans to handle something like this. However, just with all of that knowledge and training, nobody ever thinks it's going to happen.
Right.
Like, for example, this is probably a terrible example, but a bomb threat or active shooter drill. We prepare for that. What are the odds? No one, I believe in my heart of hearts that we were bound to have something like this happen, but no one ever thinks it's going to. Like
Right.
for me personally, when Wuhan,
Well, did you hear a while ago that they actually prepared for something like this? I believe it was during the Obama administration. They actually went through and prepared for this and then made like a booklet to go by if this ever happened. So, they knew it could be a thing.
but so too, if it hasn't happened yet, and then you make a booklet based on theory, real life is a lot different. I
Mm.
know for myself personally, I'll admit, when I heard about it coming out in Wuhan, China and stuff, I was like, well, basic American thinking, but also feeling safe because I was living on mid coast Maine. I was
Right.
like, we don't have to worry about it. And
Yeah.
then the first Maine case came, and it started up in Androscoggin County, in the county. And I'm like, how did, duh. Like all my little bubble of safety, like I live in Lindsay Land anyway, but
Right.
but then with the rest of the world bubble, the, I don't know, it kind of blew us all. So earlier this summer at the small hospital I worked at two. So the one with the COVID and the other one that was really well prepared,
Mm.
but nothing happened. Um, it's
Yeah, that's good. That's part of the good of living in Maine at the time. That we just didn't really have to worry about it. Not like other places, but man, now it's blowing up all over the place here. It's
also
crazy.
too. Admittedly, I'm in love with Dr. Nirav Shah, and
He's such a good dude. I can listen to him all day.
I could too. Like I want him to read me stories or just I don't know. I would like his personal phone number so I could be like, Dr. Shah, I'm having a panic attack. You'll just talk to me. Just say anything.
Right, right.
But also, I'm really like, I listened last night, even though I'm in New Hampshire currently, to the main CDC update with Dr. Shah. And I was afraid to. I've been putting it off for weeks because I'm like, oh my God, Maine's cases are on like the upswing, like super sharp.
Yeah.
And I don't want Dr. Nirav Shah to be mad at us. But there is one thing, and I think everybody that's listening should Google it, where he quoted a song. Who was it? But he goes, the Maine CDC's never going to give you up. They're never going to let you down. They're never going to run around and desert you. You Google it right now. I bet you can pull it up and post it. But
That's
I'm like,
funny.
is he really doing this? And it's because Mainers are really independent and don't like to divulge names to contact tracers. They're like, oh, they're probably tapping my lines and all like
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I take COVID very seriously. I feel like it's very real.
So
What
I want you to back up. So like when you asked about it being real, there Stan the Man is on here, and he kind of
like
prompted.
you read the comments to answer them, so you gotta.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. So he feels like it's part of this propaganda thing, or that it's political in some way. Like, is Corona real? Like, is are there people dying of Corona? Have you seen this with your own eyes?
Me?
Yeah. Have you seen people like really be sick from this?
Yes. I've seen someone wheel in breathing normally and then they're on like this oximizer mask. This woman that came to Maine from Florida and wasn't completely honest. And she was one of those folks. And she came in completely like, oh, corona positive, having some shortness of breath, breathing fine on her own. And then within 6 hours, she was on like a face mask with some aerosol, like high concentration oxygen, and then scuttled off to the ICU. And then, she started to breathe better after like a week, but still on like 10 liters of oxygen. I mean,
Wow.
basically, the way I describe it is you're pretty fucked up if you can't live on Earth and just breathe normal air. You might as
Yeah.
well be in outer space to have that much help. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And she was, early 60s, no real conditions. She kept changing her story and thought that it was because she went to the bathroom on the plane that's where she got the Rona.
Wow. On the
So
plane?
either lady, you need to wipe your hands or your ass. I don't know what, but I know you brought it with you.
So,
Um,
what do you think about spreading it outdoors? Like, I'm kind of somewhat convinced, and I'm willing to be open about this, that you can't really spread it outside. Do you think that's true, or is it, or
mm,
am I crazy?
well, I so I just got a new snowboard last winter. Hang on,
You suck. I want one.
I don't even know how to ride though. So
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm just gonna show this off. I took the bindings off and whatever. Ooh. So
Oh,
so here's what, like, now that I'm living back in the place I'm from, my local mountain is Mount Sunapee, and um, my person and I are thinking about getting seasons passes.
mm,
Back in the day when I was in high school, for years I had a seasons pass. I would skip school and go snowboarding, or like school would end, or we'd have a snow day, and then I'd get in my car and drive to the mountain because I had this pass. But now the rules have changed there. And the thing that gets me is, well, number one, it's cold in the winter. What do you wear to protect your face from the cold?
right, right. Yeah, a mask.
I think, I mean, Sunapee this year, what I've heard, I haven't actually sleuthed it myself, but people are encouraged to kind of gear up in their cars in the parking lot, which is fine. People should learn how to do that. I mean, I can change out of my shoes and into my snowboard boots while I'm driving my manual transmission vehicle, as well as put on snow pants and do everything. I drive around a lot, and I'm pretty well versed at.
Getting naked in front of the wheel.
Not quite. We're just
Yeah.
uh,
So I think that the UV light kills it, right? I mean, that's what I believe is UV light kills the virus.
so I don't know if there's any. I can't pull up any
So you don't
research.
know that, right? Right. Yeah, it's
So
tough because as a nurse, you treat people. You don't really like research it. You're like hands on trying to make people better, right?
um, I am making the best out of occasional bad situations. But here's my feeling as a nurse and a person about lights.
Oh yeah.
Um, I've worked in a lot of long-term care facilities in the past. When people sit around in one room all the time, a lot of people are a little overweight. And I believe, if we just put everybody outside in the grass on a warm, sunny day and have them spread out like a starfish, it's going to heal a lot of things. Light heals a lot of things. I get seasonal affective disorder, from lack of light. Um, Light helps. I don't know if it cures or kills corona, but it certainly isn't going to hurt you.
True.
because it's really good for you.
Yeah, I watched an interview with a guy that had corona, and
But sunscreen accordingly. I
haha, especially you, Miss Redhead. But yeah, like I saw an interview with the guy. Like he had corona. He was saying it like made him like really lethargic, and it like made him not want to get up and move. And he thought that was part of the lung thing. He was like, if you force yourself up to get up and start like moving and try to get yourself better, he's like, that's what you want to do. Do
I
you think
remember
that's
when.
true?
Yes, I do, because I remember early on when who's the governor of New York? Is it Andrew Cuomo?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then his brother Chris Cuomo got the Rona and was talking about it. And it does make you tired. If anybody's ever had the flu, you feel like you've gotten run over by a truck or like hit full bore, and then it just backs over you, and it's like, oh, like it sucks and it really hurts. Um, the coronavirus too, it fosters some pneumonia, and it's a really tenacious, like sludge that just builds up in your lungs. And Chris Cuomo, I remember this stuff. He was like, "Yep, it wants to kind of knock you down. You got to keep moving. You got to keep your lungs working. You got to keep everything from stagnating." Like just how a stagnant pool breeds like Zika virus and disease, but a
right,
moving
right,
river doesn't. You want to keep stuff moving. If stuff stagnates, like you're not going to feel like moving. You don't have
right,
to
right,
do like rigorous calisthenics, but get your ass up. I
right.
feel like that helps because you just think about a
Have
stagnant
you?
puddle and like all that crap that grows in it versus
Right.
a
Yeah.
moving water. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
But a
Have you
lot of
seen
people
that?
are
Have you?
like, they're like, who is this chick you're interviewing? Is she really a nurse? So
Probably.
you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, have you seen that in the hospital where you have like someone like get better once they start moving?
Oh, here we go. This doesn't even have to regard coronavirus. Bottom line is, there's a thing called um, insurance only covers certain procedures for a certain amount of days based off of years of data. Um, Crap, I'm forgetting what it's called. Hopefully, somebody is commenting.
Not
But
yet.
it's a window of time. Like, say you go in for a particular procedure, like, say you have a heart attack, you go into the hospital. Enough data over the years, insurance companies will only cover 1 day of initial heart attack in the hospital, and then 2 more days of recovery, and then they won't pay for it anymore. So it's not individualized. But I've seen patients. Okay, here's my thing. Kills me. So a lot of this stuff falls upon nursing. Bed sores happen. Pneumonia happens because people refuse to get out of bed. You have a lot of non-compliant patients, and this is outside of coronavirus. And I can document to death. This patient refuses to ambulate. This patient will not get up. This patient's basically refusing care. Um, I am not Jesus. And
Right.
so a lot of patients come to the hospital with chronic conditions. They're always in and out. And that points out a failure of our healthcare system to be proactive in preventative medicine because people will have these chronic conditions. They're non-compliant at home. They have congestive heart failure, but then they refuse to take their Lasix, which is a diuretic and makes them pee all the time. But with their condition, congestive heart failure, if they don't take their Lasix, fluid is going to build up in their lungs and around their heart. They're going to get short of breath. They're going to swell up like a water balloon. And then what do? They come into the hospital. And then they're like, I can't breathe. And so we flush them out, give them some IV steroids, give them IV Lasix. And, then they finally disclose, oh, yeah, well, I haven't taken my Lasix in like 2 weeks. And it's okay, sir. Well, why? Because I have to pee all the time.
He's like, I bet the
But
hypochondriacs are going nuts.
but that's the reason why that medication is there for that condition. And then we try to find out, well, why aren't you taking your your Lasix? Why is this exacerbating or acting up? Can you afford it? Is everything okay? Do you have transportation? We look at all those things. The bottom line is there's a large element of non-compliance in the healthcare system that falls upon nursing and case management and the system in general, where now it's gotten so bad that insurance companies will not pay for a patient that has been discharged from any hospital and then admits within 30 days. So, say you came into us for a heart attack, but then 2 weeks later you slip and break your hip in a parking lot, and you need to go back to the hospital. Insurance won't pay for it
Oh,
because
that would suck.
but there's so much non-compliance. Um, I'm not sure if I'm getting to the point I could rant about this for a long time, and that has nothing to do with COVID. But there's a lot of people that don't get up, or that come to the
Right.
hospital and they're like, "Fix me," and then Press Ganey, which is a survey all patients on like public Medicare, Medicaid get, and they bitch about the food. When
Right.
patients are with me and they bitch about the beds, I just kind of chuckle. I'm like, haha, well, we do that on purpose. The beds are really uncomfortable. They're kind of plastic and they're awful. I'm like, but we just do that so you don't get
You're
too
like, here's
comfortable.
some pillows and warm blankets. You're good.
Oh, the warm blankets are the best. Like I'll offer people, and I'm like, "Do you want a warm blanket?" They're like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Well, I know, and you do." And then I wrap them up, and I'm like, "I'm gonna wrap you up like a burrito. This is your tortilla." I I really do
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I tell patients too. I'm like, "Well, you're lucky I didn't cook the food, and the food's kind of not great on purpose, just like the beds, because we don't want you to get too comfortable here." Because we want you to go back and live your life.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
is honestly
exactly.
true. I do care, but sometimes caring is exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. I was trying to think like,
What's the commentary like? Are they like, where'd you find this?
it's not bad. What do you think will happen if you do have corona?
If I have Corona?
Yeah.
Well, I'll find out by midnight if I do or not.
So let's say
Uh,
you do. Like, so
so
are
what
you
happens if
healthy?
I have Corona? Well, I have to then take 2 weeks off, which I don't get paid for
Right.
because
So
I'm
how do you think your
traveling.
body will handle it though? Like, are you a healthy person? Like, is that anything that you're worried about?
Um, I think my body will handle it fine. But I wouldn't. I'm still realistically concerned about dying. I have a
Right.
seven-year-old daughter who I want to see get married.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want my mom to cry.
Yeah.
There's been times I've thought about following the virus around to make 5 grand a week, but you know what's going to happen too is that I could be exposed to it a lot. But the bottom line is, I don't want my mom to worry and cry.
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
my sister to worry. I don't want my daughter to worry. So if it comes here and then the money shoots up, great. But um, I don't want to worry my family. If I have corona, so what's going to happen? I'm a travel nurse. I'm on a travel assignment right now. I'm going. I signed up for a home care, like legit staff job coming up after my assignment because I'm going to stay in one place and roots plant them, like grow.
We'll see. We'll see.
We will. Um, But if I get corona, because I'm a travel nurse and it's in my contract, my company will not pay for 2 weeks of quarantine or the fallout from getting the virus, nor will the facility I work at. So I will have 2 weeks off without pay.
That's crazy when when you think about it. So like, the
It's
health
really
professional,
ridiculous.
the health professional that's out there fighting in for the good of all. If one of those people get sick, they're not going to get paid to isolate. Like
And it's
that to
really
me is
the healthcare hero thing really bothers me. Because the bottom line, like, yeah, I save lives. Yeah, I hold hands with people that died. But my goal really is to
to get
just
paid. Oh, I'm just
to
kidding.
getting paid is good. But the bottom line is, I like to make the best of the worst for people.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
approach it with humor. I had a blind patient the other day, and I was like, "Hey," I was like, and I just harass him, and he can't see me, and I'm like, "Well, it's a good thing because I like to dance like no one's watching. So your room is the place I go and just dance." And I start tap dancing because he can hear that.
Yeah.
And now he remembers my voice. So, like a couple days ago, when he wasn't my patient, I burst open because his call light's on. And I was like, "Hey, it's Lindsay," and he immediately starts laughing. It was just like, "I have to go to the bathroom," and I'm like, "Great." And then, so also, he's used to being blind and stuff, and he takes his walker, and I have to kind of give him directions, and I have issues with my rights and lefts, and so I was like, because we had a good rapport, I also could admit that, hey, I also have no sense of direction and don't know my right from left all the time. I have to go like this, like a robot. And bless your heart for putting up with me. But he made it to the bathroom, and um, but it just made him smile because his situation is really shitty. There's more to
Yeah.
it than that. And that's what makes me feel good about my job. It's not that we're inundated with Rona where we are now. It's not that I'm going in there being a hero. I just tell people my goal is just to harass people. I'm really good at what I do. I really love getting to know people's stories. I really like that connection piece. I don't
Right.
go there to just be a hero.
Right.
If
So
somebody,
did you see like a fluctuation there? Like I was always curious about this. Like in the hospital, did you see that dip of like people getting better and not spreading as much and then like a big spike? Is that real? Like, you know what I mean?
so I haven't been at this facility the whole time of the Rona. I do keep in contact with people at Maine General, and the unit I used to work on, which was like a med surge COVID rule out. And one of my good friends from that facility moved onwards to the ICU. And one night in the middle of the night, messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I got out early because my one patient died. He was, medically paralyzed, lying prone on a vent, and just didn't make it from the room."
Wow.
Um, so it's more up there. I don't know what my current facility has been like in the past. I know they over prepared, but now things are tightening up. Like now, hospitals don't allow visitors. I'm waiting for them to cancel elective surgeries because
Oh,
if somebody undergoes a surgery that they don't need, say you need breast implants or an elective knee replacement, well, that can wait 6 months. Just kind of use your crutches and take it easy, because there's going to be a need to save beds. And once that happens too, unless we're inundated with Rona, they're going to cut back and furlough staff. My assignment could be canceled, which I really wouldn't mind, and all that. So I don't know. I guess I don't know if I'm even answering your questions
not
because
really.
it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot.
Corona's
So
not Corona's not bad like they show it on the news from what I've seen.
that's what I want to know. Like that's what I was trying to get at. Like is it as bad as like CBS says where like they're pushing gurneys of dead people into like rooms of corpses? Like is that happening
It's not
where you
happening here currently. Not
where
at
you
my
are?
facility.
Right, right. So you can't speak for anywhere else, but where you're at it's not going on.
No. I've taken care of Rona patients. The way I feel about the coronavirus is only supportive measures can fix it. It's like having the cold or flu. Like, there's really no cure. Um, Between you and I and the
Whoever's watching.
well, yeah, if the, um, if I was forced to get the vaccine that got rushed out, I will quit. Um,
Really? You won't get the vaccine? That's interesting.
no, like because I'm kind of skeptical about that. I think it's the one thing we need to help us, but I also uh with the politics behind all of it, I just am a little. I want to ride that one out. Wash
Hmm.
my hands, get enough sleep, eat better, take better care of myself, I guess. Um, but no, there's no like refrigerated trucks where we're at right now, and I hope it doesn't get to that point. But the stuff that's happened elsewhere, that is very real because you either make it through this virus or you don't.
Right.
And what makes me sad is the people that don't and they're isolated. Like once you go on a vent, pretty much fucked.
Right.
Um, but then you
So
die
uh
alone, and
so
that's my biggest fear.
so this person said they believe it's too soon with and they want like long-term results before people are
Who
really
is this?
forced to
Who's this
like
person?
can you see it on your screen? I
No,
don't know if it
no, I
no.
can't. Tell me their name, and I'll be like,
Cindy Hayes and Bennett Curtis. I think I spelled. I think I said that right.
"Oh, I bet
But
you butchered their name."
I probably did. I'm terrible at that. But I
Is
made
it
a
Cindy
solid
Hay?
effort. Hey. But yeah, I agree. You know, like, how do you feel about that? Do you think it's just like too soon?
I'm concerned about the rush. Drug trials for anything go through certain steps and take a certain amount of years. Also, then too, there's a drug can come out, and that company that invents that drug owns it by its trade name before a generic can come out. Like I think it's like 7 years later to
Hmm.
bring the cost down. The politics and capitalism behind it, I haven't really looked into, but just as a feeling, I'm like, makes me uneasy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It makes me uneasy too. I mean,
like
there's
it,
definitely trials out there right now, but like,
and I'm pro vaccination.
you don't know what it's really doing.
Polio nearly eradicated. Measles, mumps, rubella, all those recent outbreaks were from crappy anti-vaxxers. The flu, I just got my flu vaccine. To that Batman. And
Nice.
they make a new vaccine for flu every year because the flu mutates. But if you've ever gotten the flu, I got it twice in 1 year, even though I received the flu vaccine. Like it's not that the people that are mixing these vaccines at the CDC are Miss Cleo from back in the day. Oh, I know what strain's going to come out. There's still, you know, you can't. It doesn't mean you're safe from all forms of flu, but the COVID vaccine makes me uneasy. Would I let my daughter get it? Absolutely not. And I just heard on the news they're trying to find more kids to like trial it on. My daughter's 7, and I'm like, however, I did get offered a position to do some vaccine trials where I get paid $4,000 a week to go to this hospital and just inject people with experimental vaccine. Will I do that? Yes. Will I actually take the vaccine? No. What kind of person does that make me? I don't
Uh,
know. It sounds really bad saying it aloud.
yeah, but man, that's a lot of cash.
Well, and it's also being a part of history, and like just because I'm a nurse doesn't mean that not all we're not all like battling this all the time. There's a lot of other stuff to healthcare. We wipe asses, you know.
Yep.
We hold hands. We Some people have no family members and die alone, and so you sit there and you sing to them. There's a lot of other aspects, and I think Corona is great because it just puts us in the forefront, but there's so much more than this virus to the jobs we all do. Um, and just because what pisses me off too is just because you have to go to work doesn't mean you're a fucking hero.
Yeah, that's
It means
true.
you don't have a hoity-toity job with which you can work from home. We don't have that luxury. Why we're still going to work every day is because we're not telehealth nurses. We can't work from home. Thank you for job
Right.
security. I'm glad that my dumb ass chose a really great profession that I love and I'm very good at. But people
But
that
no,
like
no,
add
no
your
one saw.
groceries, it's like, oh, they're heroes. Well, no, they need to make money too.
Yeah, but no one saw anything like this coming. Like I sure didn't. I'd never really expected this to happen, and it's crazy that we're here. And
We were
and
we
we're,
were due for this. We were due for this. I just never thought it would happen in my lifetime.
yeah, overpopulation. I think a lot of it is that. Yeah, I think it spreads so fast because we're overpopulated. Something I that's interesting. I never thought about that. So, like a long time ago when I was in school, I wrote a paper about overpopulation and basically how the Earth is going to take care of it in its own way. And I'm not saying that's what Corona is, but it has to happen. There's always been a
The
balance.
survival of the fittest. Well, but I think every chunk of years or so, there's something that sweeps through. It's a part of balance, yes. Um, we're still mortal. There are things that happen to us as humans that can't be fixed. We can't all be saved. Um, I do worry about the increased use of plastic with the coronavirus. So now there's that, like, oh, now we're re fucking ourselves in that direction as well. I don't know what's going to happen. I just keep waking up every day and trying to do the next right thing so that I can go to sleep at night
All
and
right.
be able to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Just not be an ass. Because
Yeah.
that I am.
You can be. You can be. You have been once or twice. But all right. So, what do you think? This is the last question. What do you think we're gonna be like a year from now? Like, what's Corona gonna be from a year from now?
Ask your commentary, people.
No one's really saying anything. This is you, girl. I'm putting you on the spot. Putting you on the spot.
I think masks are going to still be in place. I think this surge is big. I think another one's going to happen. I mean,
Really? You think there'll be three?
I think maybe the virus will mutate. It's going to either get better or worse, but the lessons we learned from this will not go away. It made me think. I hate the two words I hate from all of this shit is unprecedented and new normal. I want to play a drinking game with NPR. Have like shots. Every time somebody yaps about the coronavirus and they're like unprecedented, I'll be drunk in like 15 minutes.
Yep.
Want to do that sometime with me, Bill? We can even
Absolutely.
video it.
I'm down. I'm ready.
NPR.
We'll just like drink a lot.
Well, every time somebody on NPR says unprecedented, new normal.
Yeah, we'll be
But I really
trash.
think things are going to change. I hope we just. I'm selfish as the next person. I protect myself. I'm pretty independent, and I can be really selfish. But I hope this experience a year from now, we all learn what it is to be a part of a bigger picture and care. Clearly, I'm not trying to get the Miss America award or anything, but that's what I hope comes out because I don't know if things are going to get better. I don't know if they'll get worse. With my life personally, it's always been like, hey, you're doing great. So I'm just going to ride with it and hopefully just be less of an ass and a nice person.
That's really all any of us can do, right? Like, it's just trying
to. You've made it through. Like, remember the time, like, I lost my license plate in your driveway, and then I was like, who have you been hanging out with? I don't want to get my license plate, but I need it.
I was scared, and yeah, everything. It's scary. It's scary. I know. It's friggin' scary.
I appreciate that we're hanging out and socially distancing.
Oh
I
yeah,
do
I
like
know.
I do like the use of technology. However, I wish I wasn't 37 and then I was 17, 7, or 27 because I would totally be way better at all of it.
Oh man, I'm with you. Like
Like
I just
remember the
don't.
green screen, the blinky cursor, and the Oregon Trail? Like
Oh my
you
God,
look at your
yes.
friends' names and they die of cholera and dysentery, or cock the kettle and float the wagon across, and it's like wah, 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 and it sinks, and then like one person makes it at the end. The original
Oh, that's
Oregon
funny. I can't
Trail.
believe you remember that. That's like one of those green blinky things, like you were saying. It's, yeah, that's old school.
I'm old at memory like an elephant's.
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
the few things I can remember, it's stuff farther back.
yeah. Somewhere
Like,
back there. Well, I think we're gonna jump off here, but I really appreciate talking to me, Lindsay, and we should do this and then talk about something fun because it's always fun to talk to you.
well, I'm happy to be your. You bring out the best of the worst in me, though. Well, we
That
can
could be
do.
good or bad.
Oh, it is what it is. And thanks for having me on and talking with me. I hope
Yeah,
it's okay. I've been really nervous the whole time. And
yeah,
just
yeah.
repeat
People,
myself.
yeah, yeah. People are definitely talking good about you, so it's cool. And you know, I appreciate it, and I just want to thank you for like being one of
Yeah.
the only other people that can do that. And yeah, we will definitely do this again. And thank you for being a nurse, and thank you for taking care of people out there.
And thank you for being you and chatting with me, I guess. Thanks for my big, like, TV debut. So I
All
appreciate
right.
you, Phil. You've always been a good buddy. And thanks for being my friend through everything.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. All right,
Thanks as
everybody.
well. And the rest of you, too. Thank you so much.
Yep. Later.
Bye.